Shocking truth, quantum manifestation feels wrong at 3 a.m., here's why it's a good sign. It was 3 in the morning when the streetlights flickered ominously, casting long shadows that danced eerily over the pavement. In that twisted hour, deep in the heart of the city, every whisper of wind felt like a ghost's breath, and the usual buzz of the night fell silent. Lila watched from her window, her heart racing, as a strange energy pulsated in the air, wrapping around her like an electrifying blanket. Something immense was about to unfold. She had always been attuned to the strange and unusual, but tonight was different. The hair on her arms stood on end, and she could feel the weight of the universe pressing down on her. Out of nowhere, a burst of light exploded in the alley below, momentarily blinding her. It settled quickly, revealing an impossibly beautiful sight, a swirling fog, iridescent and shimmering, as if the fabric of reality itself had torn open. Lila's breath hitched, the air was thick with unspoken possibilities. What was this? Was it a sign? Images flooded her mind, possibilities, choices, the dreams she had cast into the universe for years. Were they actually manifesting? Her pulse quickened. She had watched countless videos on quantum manifestation, but this felt personally transformative. What deep truth awaited her? Tonight was a night for miracles or madness, but Lila couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her. The shadows stretched across her room, shifting in unsettling ways as if alive. She could hear muffled whispers, her name slipping through the dark. Was the universe trying to communicate, or had she opened a door best left closed? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Lila leaned closer to the window, peering through the mist. Her heart raced as she saw figures emerging, shadowy, shapeless forms drifting softly in the fog, each dancing to their overimagined beats. Were they human? Part of a dream? She held her breath, a lump forming in her throat. Each figure seemed to call out to her, their mouths moving without sound. Panic rose. What if they needed her? What if they were the very embodiments of her hopes, or worse, her demons? The quiet outside thickened, wrapping her in its grip. She felt the pull of something profound, something deeply unsettling yet undeniably powerful. Lila swore she heard her own name mixed in with the otherworldly sounds. Right then, a gust of wind howled, sending a chill through her. It felt like a warning. But how could she turn away now? If this was the manifestation of her heart's desire, could she really let fear drive her away? And in that moment, she realized, she had to choose. Break through the barrier of fear, or stay paralyzed beneath the weight of her own doubts. But who was waiting on the other side? As Lila's fingers traced the glass, she knew one thing: the fog would reveal its truths, whether she was ready or not. The swirling fog deepened, its colors shifting like a liquid rainbow, and Lila felt the pulse of its energy beckoning her to step into its embrace. Each figure in the mist seemed to know her, to pull her closer with silent invitations. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, mixing excitement with trepidation. Could this be the night she changed everything? Or would she become lost in the shadows of her own making? As she pushed the window open, a cold breeze rattled her bones, nudging her closer to the edge between reality and whatever lay beyond. The whispers turned to a hum, a symphony of half-formed words that felt like echoes of her past, the regrets and hopes she had buried. Lila, they breathed again, more insistent now, each syllable like a touch on her skin. Taking a deep breath, she stepped onto the fire escape, her feet finding the cold metal railing, heart hammering like a desperate drum. The night air wrapped around her like a lover's caress, urging her forward. Every step toward the ground felt like a descent into her very soul. The figures danced faster, morphing into a chaotic yet mesmerizing display, and Lila was entranced, but then, without warning, the figures froze. A singular voice ripped through the murmur, sharp and clear, breaking the illusion. Lila. It called again, but this time, it was different. It wasn't just a whisper. This voice was powerful, familiar. A chill crept down her spine as she recognized it, her mother's mom. Lila gasped, panic surging through her. Memories flooded back, the warmth of her mother's embrace, the pain of loss, the deep well of sorrow she had tried to fill with dreams. The fog twisted, swirling violently, and she felt the shifting tides of grief and hope. "What are you doing here?" she pleaded, looking into the fog wide-eyed, grasping for the shape she once knew. "Is this real?" "Lila, you must listen." The voice echoed off the alley walls, blurred and distorted. "You are at a crossroads. A choice must be made." A realization hit her like a brick wall. This fog wasn't just a manifestation of her dreams. It was the very amalgamation of her past, present, and future, tangled in a web of decisions waiting to be unraveled. She could feel the weight of the lives she had led and the voices calling for closure. The figures pulsed with her heart, brighter with each beat, urging her toward forgiveness and understanding, but as the tension built, so did a sense of foreboding. Among the voices of her mother, she felt darker, more sinister tones creeping in. The shadows within the fog seemed to grow thicker, merging ominously. "What else is waiting for me?" she whispered, her heart racing with dread. "And what you choose will not only affect you," the voice warned ominously, "but them as well." The past still holds its power. Suddenly, the mist reeled back violently as if something was pushing against it, a deep growl resonating from the darkness, making her instincts scream. The shadows shifted threateningly, taking on forms Lila didn't recognize. Figures morphed and twisted into nightmarish shapes, hovering in the turbulent fog like predators waiting to pounce. "Lila." The voice surged again, loud and frantic, breaking through the panic. "You have to decide now." Fear is their ally. When she realized, the future was not simply a reflection of what she wanted, but a battleground for the fears she had ignored. Was she ready to face what lurked in the dark? With the weight of that moment, Lila knew she had less time than she thought. She had to choose who she wanted to become, and perhaps, who she wanted to leave behind. And perhaps, just perhaps, facing her own demons was the key to unlocking the mysteries swirling before her. But as the growl intensified and shadows lunged, she had to act quickly. Every heartbeat echoed a question within: would she transform or be consumed? The fog darkened, and just as she took a step forward, the mist exploded into a tempest of light and sound, leaving Lila teetering on the edge of an unimaginable choice. A blinding flash of light enveloped Lila, momentarily blurring the reality around her. She shielded her eyes, heart racing with a mix of fear and exhilaration. The cacophony of sounds twisted into a chaotic symphony, spiraling in a rhythm that matched her pounding heart. It felt as if the universe was tearing itself apart, revealing a glimpse of the infinite choices that lay before her. When the light receded, Lila found herself suspended in a vast, starless void. The ground beneath her felt insubstantial, like standing on the edge of an endless chasm. The familiar silhouettes of the figures were gone, replaced by a sea of shifting shadows, whispering urgently, their voices a tangled web of confusion and dread. "Make your choice, Lila," they pleaded, the dissonance of their tones striking at her senses. The gravity of the moment pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. Leave the past behind or embrace it. The decision is yours. Shadows curled around her, weaving themselves into grotesque shapes that clawed at her sanity. Each one reminded her of the failures she tried to forget, the missed opportunities, the broken relationships, the pain she thought she'd buried. They stirred to life, images of moments that had slapped her in the face, rehashing regrets she couldn't bear to confront. "No!" she cried out, the anguish spilling from her lips like a cascade of tears. "I want to let you control me." In that moment, a sense of clarity pierced through the confusion. Lila remembered her mother's voice, what she had stood for, the love she had given. That warmth wrapped around her like a protective cloak. You were strong, Mom. Teach me, she whispered into the void, with her voice echoing in her ears. The dark figures stilled, their movements halting as if caught in a web of their own making. The fog swirled again, and she could see a faint light pulsing through the chaos, a beacon glowing vibrantly in the dismal landscape. Lila steeled herself. Grief was heavy, but emotion was a tool, not a chain. I choose to face you, she yelled, her heart steadying. I choose truth. As the words left her mouth, the shadows recoiled, shrieking in a chorus of agony. Lila stepped forward into the light, feeling its warmth envelop her like a sunbeam breaking through a dense cloud. The oppressive weight lifted, replaced by a fragile yet profound sense of empowerment. She was not merely a bystander, she was the author of her fate, but the shadows weren't vanquished. They loomed around the periphery, whispering and watching, their hunger still palpable in the thick air. The light flickered, revealing the remnants of her past, not as terrifying creatures, but as lessons, moments meant for growth. She was face to face with her fears now, fully armed with understanding. They would not disappear, but she could learn to dance with them, to transform that fear into something beautiful. But just as she felt the first flickers of hope burning inside her, the ground beneath began to tremble violently. The shadows surged back, clawing for her, the chaos returning with a vengeance. The overwhelming realization struck Lila, she was not out of danger yet. What do you really want, Lila? A deep voice thundered from the pitch-black void, more powerful and chilling than the shadows, but before she could answer, the ground split apart, sending her tumbling into a dark abyss, fear flooding her veins once more. Would she find her footing in a world of swirling chaos, or would she plummet into darkness again? She had taken the first step, but the path ahead loomed uncertain and perilous. Lila's fall seemed endless, the darkness swallowing her whole. The sensation of the air rushing past her felt like icy fingers tracing her skin, sending shivers down her spine. Panic clawed at her mind as she plummeted deeper into the abyss, the echoes of her unanswered question reverberating in her ears. Was she truly ready to confront her past, or would she be trapped in an eternal cycle of despair? With a jolt that shook her entire being, Lila hit the ground soft yet firm, like landing on a bed of leaves rather than solid earth. The impact knocked the breath from her lungs, leaving her gasping as she rolled onto her back. Shadows loomed overhead, swirling ominously though they couldn't touch her on this new terrain. It was unlike the void she had just escaped. The landscape shimmered with a dim glow, reflecting fragments of haunting memories. Faces she recognized flashed before her, her mother laughing, her best friend's betrayal, the day she lost her job, all distorting around her like a ghastly slideshow. You think you've escaped? A voice hissed, slicing through the murmur of shadows. It was the same voice that had questioned her before, deeper now, oozing disdain. You cannot run from yourself, Lila. Why won't you leave me alone? She shouted into the darkness, face contorted in fear and defiance. Because you haven't learned, child, the voice replied, echoing all around her. Your truth is still a stranger to you. You deny the very parts that make you whole. Are you truly ready to embrace it? Walls began to close in, the light flickering as the shadows conspired, gnashing at her resolve. Lila fought to pull herself up, hands trembling as she steadied herself. I am not afraid of the truth. I will not be held hostage by my past. As the words escaped her mouth, the darkness around her morphed, sending ripples through the air. The memories began to surface again, but this time they felt less like chains and more like the beat of a drum calling her to dance a rhythm to which she could find her stride. Shadows slithered towards her, attempting to claw at her confidence, but the shimmer of glowing light grew brighter, illuminating faces filled with love and acceptance. She saw herself in those moments, her laughter echoing amidst the joy and the pain. When she finally found her voice, it was stronger than before. I choose to embrace my truth. All of it. The shadows wailed, retreating with a force that shook the landscape. Lila felt a surge of energy flow through her, a deep-rooted strength igniting within. She no longer felt like a victim, she was the storm and the calm, one with her essence. But just as she began to feel victorious, the ground beneath her trembled violently again, threatening to collapse. The shimmering light flickered ominously, as if wavering between existence and erasure. "Your truth is still on trial," the voice reverberated, a mocking tone creeping into its depths. "The final choice lies ahead, and it will demand more than just courage." The shimmering reality around her began to fracture, splintering into myriad paths leading into deeper darkness. Panic surged anew through her veins, but Lila steeled her resolve. "What do I have to do?" she shouted, though the shadows only chuckled in reply, their voices like gravel scraping against her skin. As she contemplated the paths before her, Lila realized that the next step might be her hardest yet. She took a breath, heart racing with uncertainty, ready to plunge into the unknown once again, but what awaited her on that forked road could either liberate her or bind her tighter than ever. Would she be able to survive the ultimate test of her will, or would the truth drown her in despair once more? The paths folded and twisted before her, like a maze crafted from shadows and fears. Each route pulsed with a heartbeat, vibrant yet ominous. She could feel their pull drawing her closer. Could each choice unlock a different part of her, or was it just another trap? "Lila." The voice whispered again, now echoing with a sense of urgency. "Time waits for no one. Choose." Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage like a war drum. The fear tightened around her throat, but anger burned brightly in her chest. Was she really supposed to make a decision in this chaos? Lila stepped forward, hesitating as uncertainty loomed like a fog. Then, a flicker of light caught her attention. One path shimmered with an iridescent glow, the beckoning warmth felt alive. The voices of remembered laughter surged, wrapping around her like a hug. But, off to the right, another path slithered with a chilling darkness, whispering softly, promising absolution from the pain she so desperately wanted to escape. "Don't listen to them." The voice rose, sharpness slicing through the murmur of shadows. "You know where this leads." Swallowing hard, Lila glanced between the paths. Could she have been so lost? Her heart ached with the memories that jostled in her mind, memories that were poisoned by betrayal and sorrow. What if she took the wrong turn? The thought sent a wave of nausea crashing through her. Without warning, the ground beneath her feet vibrated with a throaty growl. The shimmering light pulsed angrily, as if reacting to her indecision. A storm of shadows gathered overhead, blocking even the faintest threads of the luminescence. "Make your choice, Lila." The voice commanded. "You're running out of time." She clenched her fists, weighing her options. What did she truly seek? Freedom from the past? Understanding of herself? Or something even more elusive, a path that blended light with dark? "Trust yourself. You've faced storms before," whispered a gentle voice, a haunting echo of the love she once knew. With that spark of hope, Lila closed her eyes, focusing on the warmth of the glowing path. She opened her eyes, determination flooding through her veins. "I choose." The words trembled on her lips as if touching the truth would burn her. Suddenly, the ground split violently beneath her feet. The landscape shifted and twisted, pulling her towards both paths. Light and dark clashed around her, swirling into a tempest that threatened to engulf her whole. Just as she was about to be pulled apart, she seized the moment and took a definitive step toward the glowing path. "I choose to embrace it all," she cried, her voice ringing with strength. But the darkness howled, clawing at her with fingers of despair. Shadows lunged to consume her, laughter now turned to screams. "No. You can't leave the darkness behind." The voice thundered, reverberating through the chaos. In that instant, everything swirled faster, and Lila felt the weight of both light and dark crush against her. Memories rushed to the forefront, threatening to drown her. She was falling again. Through the cacophony, one last realization sparked. Perhaps the truth wasn't about choosing between light and dark, but learning to find strength in both. Just as her body felt weightless, her spirit ignited with a fierce clarity. "Embrace the chaos," she shouted, as the shadows began to relent, releasing their grip. But even as she rose, empowered, the voice echoed one last time, now infused with a sinister glee, "You think this is the end? The real battle awaits." Lila steadied her breath, a shiver creeping down her spine. Something ominous loomed close. The storm hadn't passed just yet. What lay ahead might be her greatest challenge yet, and one that could decide everything. Would she be ready to face the final confrontation? The tempest swirled around Lila, coursing with raw energy and unfathomable darkness. Her senses sharpened, every heartbeat echoing like a drum in a hollow chamber. Each echo seemed to resonate with the chaos surrounding her, a whirlwind of doubt and determination. The shadows hissed and snarled, trying to drown out her resolve, but there was a flicker of palpable strength surging through her, and then, just like that, silence descended. The storms hushed, leaving only the haunting rustle of shadows in their wake. Lila stood in a sudden stillness, almost like she stepped into a void. It felt unreal, yet she could still feel the remnants of chaos teasing her ankles like small gusts of wind brushing against her skin. "Where am I?" she murmured, half to herself, half to the eerie emptiness. Her breath formed tiny clouds in the chilly air. The warmth of hope flickered brightly within her chest, but fear chased it like a shadowy predator. "Lila." The voice was palpable again, seeping into her ears like cool water. "You are not yet free. Not yet whole. What do you want from me?" she shouted, her voice trembling. "I've stepped forward. I've chosen." "Choosing is not enough," the voice replied, cold and ancient, echoing around her with an intensity that made her skin crawl. As if in response, the ground beneath her quaked again. A path twisted into existence. Thick vines of shadow twisted among glimmers of light, forming an archway that called to her. The darkness had a presence, a pulse of energy that beckoned, promising secrets, revealing hidden truths. It could lead her to her lost self, or it could bury her even deeper. Lila took a hesitant step toward the archway, her heart racing again. What lies beyond? She wondered aloud, her voice betraying her growing fear. Memories flashed in her mind, the laughter of friends she'd left behind, the love that felt so far removed, and all the betrayal that had drowned her. Her hand trembled as she reached out. "No." The voice erupted in a furious echo that ricocheted through her, vibrating right down to her bones. "You must not go back. It will only steal your light. Your past is a snare. But how can I move forward if I don't understand?" Lila pressed, desperate for clarity amidst the whirlwind of shadows. "What if that is where my strength lies?" "Strength is in the now," the voice replied sharply. "Face the chaos, do not revisit it. Look ahead, for destiny awaits." But the archway throbbed hungrily, seductive whispers wrapping around her thoughts, promising peace if she just stepped forward. "You're not strong enough to handle what lies ahead without the truth of your past," it beckoned. "Without the knowledge of who you truly are." Each breath felt like a battle, her lungs constricting. Did she dare dive into that darkness, a realm where shadows danced with memories? Or did she trust the voice guiding her? With one final surge of determination, Lila shouted into the abyss, "I refuse to let fear dictate my life. I will confront whatever waits for me." The air thickened, vibrating with energy as the darkness roared in response. The shadows twisted in outrage, howling at her defiance. It felt like a storm was brewing anew, and she could sense the tension, a build-up in the air, a confrontation. "Dare you?" The voice leered, now a seductive whisper, slithering into her mind. "Then let it begin. The truth comes at a price, and you must be willing to pay it." Suddenly, the ground cracked open, revealing a chasm teeming with flickering images. Before she even understood what was happening, a force pulled her closer to the abyss, a spiraling vortex of colors and shadows. "Don't look away," the voice warned. "What you see may change everything." Lila's heart pounded as she was dragged toward the edge, countless fates and choices racing before her eyes like lightning across a dark sky. Could she face whatever truths lay in wait? And just at that moment, a piercing scream erupted from the depths below, echoing through her very soul, sending chills cascading down her spine. Who screamed? What horror awaited her in the depths? She had no choice but to find out. Her future depended on it. Would she embrace this truth, no matter the cost? The tumult of shadows swelled around her, preparing for an undeniable revelation. The chasm roared like a wounded beast, the scream reverberating in her ears, anchoring Lila at the edge of sanity. She swayed, the pull from the abyss undeniable. Flames of raw panic licked at her gut, mixing with that flicker of hope that refused to die. What was down there? What had called out to her so desperately? Embrace it. The voice hissed, its tone now sharp and serrated. Feel it slice through your soul. She recoiled, her instinct screaming to run, yet something deep inside urged her to leap. The shadows wove like a deceptive tapestry, each flickering image tempting her with remnants of her past moments of joy intertwined with haunting regret. She stumbled forward, the depth below appearing infinite, and, for a heartbeat, remembering the laughter felt like a physical weight almost too heavy to carry. Then came another scream, more anguish this time, slicing through the air and forcing her to flinch. It felt so familiar. Memories began to crystallize. A face. A name. Her heart raced. Clara. She gasped, the name escaping her lips uncontrollably. Just as quickly, a flood of emotion cascaded through her. Memories of the betrayal, the pain of losing someone who had been her rock, and the blame she felt consumed her like a fire. Stay away from what you think you know. The voice warned, desperate and frantic. That truth will drown you. But a strange courage washed over Lila, fueled by the fire of her emotions. I want to know. She declared resolutely. I want to know what happened. The chasm writhed in response, shadowy currents swirling like storm clouds prepared to unleash a tempest. She could feel the air thickening, a charged atmosphere igniting around her, pulling and pushing in equal measure. With another scream echoing from the depths, Lila leaned closer, drawn in by the threads of fate. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted from within the abyss, momentarily illuminating the storm-shrouded shadows. Lila squinted, holding on to the edge with every ounce of strength she could muster. The faces danced in her mind, each beckoning her closer, fragments of herself unwilling to fade away. What lies beneath? She whispered, her curiosity battling the trepidation in her gut. The truth, the voice murmured, deep and resonant, swirling around her like a dark storm cloud, will take everything you hold dear. The ground trembled beneath her. It was as if the universe held its breath, waiting for her next move. She could either plunge into the unknown or retreat into the obscured past. But the realization struck her with the force of a meteor, the past would never leave her. Determined and steady, she raised her voice above the cacophony. I choose to face whatever is down there. I refuse to hide. Before she could process the implications of her declaration, the light from the depths surged higher, engulfing her in a blinding radiance. She felt herself being pulled into the embrace of the shadows, the screaming finally merging into a chorus of voices, a cacophony of whispers that promised revelations, hauntings, truths long buried. What awaited her in this swirling melange of darkness and light? As she plunged deeper, the shadows tightened around her like a noose, ready to either reveal or consume her, and then, silence fell again. A heavy, suffocating quiet. Lila opened her eyes, her breath caught in her throat. Where was she? What happened to the terrible screams and the echoing memories? She unfolded her trembling fingers, the chill of fear biting deeper. A new presence loomed ahead, cloaked in darkness, watching her every move, waiting. As the shadows coalesced before her, she felt a shattering sense of dread mixed with exhilaration. What now? The darkness pulsed with energy. An answer was waiting, but would she be prepared for it? Would she be able to confront what remained hidden? The shadows whispered her name once more, laced with a warning that cut deeper than any scream. What wouldn't she understand until it was too late? The darkness pressed in around Lila, wrapping itself around her limbs like tendrils seeking to pull her deeper into its hiding places. Each breath stung her lungs, fear lined her veins. But within that fear, a flicker of defiance ignited. Show yourself. She cried, her voice trembling but steady, fighting against the oppressive weight that threatened to consume her. Then, as if her challenge had been accepted, a figure materialized from the shadows. It was an outline, vague yet recognizable. The air felt electric, her heart thundered in her chest as she met the gaze of the figure. It felt like staring into the mirror of her own soul, an echo of everything she had lost. Clara. The name barely rose above a whisper, and yet it trembled with the force of years of longing and grief. Could it be her friend? Was this an act of mercy or a cruel trick played by the abyss? The figure stepped forward, and with each movement, the darkness receded slightly, revealing familiar features framed in the dim light. It was Clara. No, not just Clara. It was her Clara, the one who had once been her anchor, now transformed. The warmth of memories collided with an unsettling chill. Lila's heart was in her throat, each beat a question that felt too heavy for the air between them. Clara's voice was both soothing and haunting. It was the melody Lila had missed, yet now it carried an undertone of something darker. You shouldn't have come here. Why? The word burst forth, raw and urgent. You called me. I had to know the truth. The confrontation with this vision of Clara stirred a turmoil of emotions, merging joy and anguish in a way that felt almost unbearable. Clara's eyes darkened, revealing the inner struggles that mirrored Lila's own. The truth is what binds you. It's what brought you here, but also what threatens to consume you. Everything we were, everything we could have been, it's swirling in the depths, and you must make a choice. Choice. Lila felt the air thicken with that word, a pulse of dread. What do you mean? Dive deeper, Clara urged, an almost pleading tone mingling with embedded fear. But remember, not every truth is liberating. Sometimes, they annihilate the past we cling to. A deep rumble echoed as if the chasm responded to their words, almost a warning. Lila swallowed hard, the weight of her past threatening to crush her hopes. Let me find out. She pleaded, desperation clawing at her voice. I need to know why you left me, why everything fell apart. Please, tell me what happened. The shadows quivered, shimmering around Clara like a storm about to break. What you uncover may change everything. Are you willing to sacrifice your memories, your comfort? Lila's heart raced. Yes. I can't face another day without knowing. She felt the pull again, stronger this time, as if the chasm itself conspired to merge her soul with her past. Clara hesitated, pain etched across her features. Then step into the void, Lila. Just remember, sometimes the act of knowing sets off a chain reaction we can't control. With the weight of Clara's warning echoing in her mind, Lila stepped forward into the darkness, embracing the unimaginable unknown. The moment her foot crossed the threshold, a shockwave burst through the chasm, and the shadows erupted around her like fire. Gripped by a torrent of sensations, Lila felt herself spiraling downwards. Flashes of memories burst forth, snippets of laughter, tears, betrayals, and stripping love, each one cutting deeper than the last. The past materialized around her, twisting and merging into a whirlpool of sensation. What awaited in this deep unknown? Were the answers she sought worth the risk of losing everything she held dear? Lila screamed, but the sound dissolved into the tempest of voices swirling in the void. As clarity flickered on the edges of her perception, she realized she may not just find answers but also uncover a reality that would change her forever. What truths would this darkness reveal, and would she be prepared to face the very fabric of her existence? The darkness enveloped Lila like a suffocating blanket, wrapping her tighter as she spiraled through the void. It felt cold and alive, vibrant with whispers that danced around her ears, pulling her into an abyss painted in shades of regret and longing. With each breath, the memories crashed against her like waves, pushing her deeper into this storm of her own making. Flashes of Clara flickered in her mind. Their last laughter, the warmth of their shared secrets, the shattered pieces of their friendship. The void was a mirror reflecting every moment she had tried to forget. Lila's heart raced, a relentless drum echoing the pace of her rising panic. Would understanding bring her peace, or would it rend her apart? Abruptly, she felt a jolt of light shoot through the darkness. This wasn't just a surge of emotion, it was a guiding force pulling her towards something tangible, a beacon in the storm. The pull became a thread woven through her scattered memories, threaded with questions begging for answers. She reached for it, instinctively uncertain yet desperate. As the lights began to twirl around her, she could see fleeting images, moments that felt both distant and immediate. People who had shaped her life danced before her, Clara laughing during summer nights, her parents arguing in a haze of resentment, and a figure shrouded in shadows, the one she had never truly recognized. "Stop!" Lila cried out, her voice swallowed by the chaotic cacophony. "I need to understand." And then it happened. A blinding flash consumed her, biting pain ricocheted through her consciousness as she was thrust into a memory, as raw and real as it had ever been. The jagged pieces of the past fused painfully together, almost suffocating under their weight. She stood in the middle of their school hallway, where laughter echoed around her like a twisted memory of happiness. Clara was there, but she seemed ethereal, caught in a moment of joy that felt heavy with despair. "Lila." Clara's voice floated through the air, but it was distant, just out of reach. "You have to trust me." With each heartbeat, the scene shifted. Clara was screaming, desperation etched on her face as shadows loomed over her, swallowing her light. "Fight it, Lila. Don't let it take you." Lila reached out, but the darkness wrapped around Clara, pulling her away. "No. Come back." She shouted, but her voice was just a whisper, slipping through her fingers like sand. The void erupted with a violent pulse as Lila felt the sharp edge of betrayal slice through her heart. The truth she had been eager to grasp now lay before her, dripping with pain she wasn't sure she could bear. Clara's departure was no accident. It was part of a narrative shrouded in secrets and choices neither of them had been prepared for. "Why didn't you fight harder?" Lila cried into the dark, seeking answers that might be buried within. This revelation left an ache radiating through her chest, each heartbeat a reminder of what was lost. The air thickened as the shadows whispered secrets just out of her grasp. Yet in the depths of despair, emotion surged once more, a flicker of resilience. Lila's spirit clawed against the darkness. "Tell me. I can take it." She shouted into the waiting void. A grotesque laughter echoed around her, mocking her plea. The shadows writhed as if alive, growing heavy and restless. Suddenly, Clara's face emerged from the depths, transformed into a visage of anguish and longing. "You have to confront it." Clara cried, her voice trembling with urgency. "There's more to this than you know." Would Lila dare to follow the deeper threads of truth, facing what lay beyond this darkness? It felt like a precipice, teetering on the edge of everything she had ever known. What awaited at the end of this dark descent? Would Lila unlock new revelations, or succumb to the weight of her past? The echoes grew louder, urging her forward. In that moment of decision, Lila understood. The path ahead wasn't just about uncovering secrets, it was choosing whether to transform them into a weapon or a shield. With her pulse quickening in her resolve hardening, she made her choice. What would she discover next in the terrifying labyrinth of her memories? And how would those truths redefine everything she believed? The abyss sighed around Lila, an oppressive weight that threatened to crush her spirit. She felt raw, exposed, the veil of comfort she once held fraying with every fleeting memory. Clara's pleading face lingered in her mind, a ghost of what once was and what could have remained. Confronted, Clara elevated her voice, igniting a spark within the swirling haze. "You need to understand why I left. That's how you will break free." Those words echoed within her, reverberating against the walls of her existence. "But why did you go?" Lila shouted into the darkness swirling around her. "What drove you away? What could possibly be so terrible?" The shadows twisted, their indistinct forms shifting violently in response. "Do you really want to know?" A disembodied voice crooned, both seductive and threatening. Lila felt the tension coil tighter in her chest, almost as if the abyss was testing her mettle, pushing her, challenging her. I don't care what it is. She surged, desperate. I need to know the truth. With that, the memories came crashing forward, vivid and tangible. Lila felt herself slipping, caught in the undertow of recollections. She was propelled into another scene, a blurred image of a confrontation, voices weaving into a messy tapestry of hurt and misunderstanding. Lila stood on the precipice, watching herself argue with Clara, anger fueling every spoken word. I didn't betray you. Clara's voice rang clear through the haze, her face shadowed yet painted with that same anguish. I was trapped, Lila. You don't understand. The scene unraveled, revealing the cracked foundation of their friendship, wounds that had festered without healing. Lila's heart labored as the fragments shattered around her, but within that chaos was clarity, a glimmer of understanding clawing its way to the surface. Trapped? Lila echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. From what? From who? Then it hit, a revelation that unfolded like a film reel. Shadowy figures emerged, darting in and out of Clara's vision, faint murmurs blending into sinister suggestions. They were manipulating you, Lila realized, the darkness surrounding her narrowing to focus. It took you away from me. Lila, Clara's voice returned, intermingled with the whispers that now seemed to vibrate with urgency. You have to forgive me. Forgive yourself. The immense weight crushing Lila's spirit faltered, a shift that dared her to be brave. She was at a crossroads, a chance to reclaim not just their friendship, but herself. I can forgive you, her voice broke through the shadows. But to do that, I must also forgive myself. The shadows writhed, swirling like a tempest, but they began to lose their grip on her as she let go of the pain. With each word, each acknowledgement, a light flickered in the darkness. I choose to let go, she spoke firmly, emboldened. I choose to rewrite our story. The shadows howled, but their cries became softer as if crumbling under the warmth of her newfound resolve. Clara's image shimmered with hope, her features relaxing. You're doing it, Lila. Embrace the love, the laughter, everything we had. Emotions surged wildly within Lila, each breath sappling a fire that ignited fury and love. I will remember, but not in pain, she declared, shaking off bindings that had clung to her heart for far too long. The darkness trembled, the shadows thrashing as if in protest. But the light grew, melding with the essence of who Lila was becoming, bold, empowered, free. She felt Clara's hand brush against hers, light and warm, like a memory returning home. Step into the truth and let it guide you, Clara urged, her voice resonating through the shifting landscape. Together, we will find our peace. With shaking resolve, Lila approached the shadows, daring them to confront her once more. I welcome all parts of me, light and dark, she proclaimed. Your truth cannot contain you, the voice of darkness quaked, its omnipotent presence faltering. The figures twisted, distorting in agony as light pushed through, illuminating Lila's path. I am the author of my choices, she pressed, her heart a steady rhythm. Against the onslaught of darkness. I choose love over fear. As the shadows dispersed, they dissolved into nothingness, leaving clarity and stillness in their wake. The fog had retreated, and Lila found herself standing on solid ground again, a place tinged with warmth and the faint hum of laughter. She turned, searching for Clara, who stood beside her, a new beginning woven into the remnants of their shared destiny. You did it, Clara smiled, a tear glistening in her eyes. You faced the storm and emerged stronger. Because of you, Lila replied, her voice filled with gratitude. Together, we can face the future. With that, Lila stepped into the light, not as a scared girl burdened by her past, but as a woman fully embracing her truth and empowered creator of her own narrative. The shadows no longer haunted her, they were transformed, remnants of lessons learned and moments cherished. Let us move forward, sister, she said, a smile breaking across her face, feeling every fear that once gripped her now refracting rays of hope. The city hummed softly as dawn broke, washing over them like a warm embrace, welcoming her into the new day, an open invitation into a life fully lived. This journey was not the end, but a beautiful beginning, and Lila would not just remember what was lost, she would carry it with her, blooming into all she was meant to be. Now that you've experienced this incredible journey with Lila, it's the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that'll blow your mind. And smash that like button now. Your support fuels the algorithm so more people can join our community. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about Lila's journey. Let's spark a dialogue. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how embracing your truth can change everything. Thanks for being a part of our journey.